5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is Deducter bringing you set 2 of the OSL Ro24 Group A. Today we have Jaedong versus Hyun. Jaedong versus BoGus, rather. And BoGus, much like Flash versus Hyun, BoGus has approximately negative 100% chance of beating Jaedong, especially considering Jaedong doesn't have an injury. So BoGus, he can only pray that Jaedong has some sort of heart attack or stroke in the middle of the match. That's pretty much the only way he can win. Now, that being said, BoGus is actually a reasonably good versus Zerg player. I believe he is 50-something%, 55, I think, against Zerg. I might double check that in a moment. But Jaedong, again, not even though he is Jaedong, he hasn't been playing his absolute best in the past couple of weeks. So BoGus probably only has like a 10% chance of winning. But that is better than he would normally have if Jaedong were playing his prime. And there have been some very powerful TVZ builds recently pioneered mostly by Flash again. Seem like the Terrans are always copying Flash these days with the fast barracks push. However, Jaedong is no Hyun. He knows how to control his Mutalisk and his Zerglings to launch absolutely devastating surround attacks. And and Barracks is no Flash. He doesn't have quite the same medic marine control. And Jaedong has been known to defeat Flash time and again in these field battles. So I really don't know what BoGus's chances are here. Perhaps if he plays very well, he might have a reasonable shot here. And it looks like this scouting drone doing its best to harass BoGus here. BoGus also sending out his own scout. It looks like identical builds coming from both players as in Game 1. By the way, this ODT, or OSL Ro24, call it what you will, is sort of like the MSL Ro32. There's 2 games between 4 players, and then there's a winner's match, loser's match, and the final match, except there are it's only 6 groups, so 24 players total as opposed to 32, obviously. So 12 players will advance, plus the 4 that who are already seeded into the OSL, which are the semi-finalists from the last OSL. I know it's Fantasy Stork, and I don't remember the other 2 players. They were forgettable, unfortunately. So Fantasy Stork, someone, and then the 12 players from this round of 24. And it looks like we have, well, so I guess that's why calling it round of 24 is, you know, not just technically incorrect, but, I mean, is really incorrect considering the fact that a round of 24 we imply these 24 players will go on to the, some of whom will go on to the OSL, and that's it. Which isn't true, of course, because there are already people seeded into the OSL proper. Nevertheless, I don't know. I'm sticking with round of 24, at least for this particular OSL. Perhaps if they stick with this format, I may yet change what to call it. But for now, for consistency's sake, I'll call it the OSL round 24, even though that is really quite a mistake. These Zerglings are going to be able to kill the scouting SCV, which sees the layer, fortunately. Although that's not really saying too much. I mean, you would know that sort of stuff. And BoGus does not have quite the same SCV transfer skills as Flash. You can see here, this is how most pro gamers are. Still very good and very impressive, but Flash, really, that last game, that was some insane SCV transferring skills. I cannot believe how precisely he timed it. And here we have Jaedong going up to 3 hatcheries, so same builds by both players. Let us see a difference here. You know, this is this time the Zerg player is clearly superior, and Terran player is significantly worse. And we'll see whether the Terran player can cope with what Jaedong has to offer here. Just briefly, let us take a look at BoGus' stats again. I always forget. I know it's above 50%. He is actually 56% against Zerg. He is 56% overall, 55% in all his matchups, actually, over 55%. So he's actually a pretty good player, up-and-coming player for sure. So that's good for him. 55% is very respectable. That's especially across all three matchups. I would say this is solidly an A-class player. Because I mean, you see a lot of players who may have better stats in some ways, but they're like really good at one matchup. I think Light is an example, someone who devastating versus Zerg, but not very good against Protoss, for instance. It's just BoGus hasn't really shown any exemplary play. Hasn't really shown that he's got what it takes to hang with the big boys here, hang with the likes of your Jaedongs or your Flashes. Nevertheless, this new build by Terran is very devastating, and Jaedong using his Overlord to sneak a peek there at BoGus' forces. BoGus has 4 barracks, it looks like. He's not going up to 5. Jaedong will have Spire finished soon. So that's he's gonna need to micro his Milice very well to deal with this coming assault by BoGus. And BoGus is a bit more cautious, it appears. He's put down his turrets, I believe, a bit earlier. Jaedong sneaking some of these Lings up on the ramp. They have speed upgraded. Of course, you need speed Lings to deal with Medic Marines to execute any sort of surround. BoGus pushing out. He doesn't quite have +1 yet. He's put down a bunker at the front just in case. That Zergling has a kill. How did the commentators pick the right Zergling that killed the scouting SCV? That's pretty impressive, I would say. Now Jaedong with his Milice out. He's going to try to pick away at some of these units, and Jaedong with 9 Milice, he's probably going to go up to the 11 soon enough. Jaedong is taking this opportunity maybe to attack natural. No, he backs off for now. Jaedong does need to be a bit careful. He cannot allow BoGus to sort of unite his forces, picking away a few Marines, killing a medic here. Jaedong wisely choosing to back off when the Marines are still stimmed. Now Jaedong going for attack with Zerglings and his Milice, cleaning up this force of Medic Marines. Much better attack than Hyun. Still, Jaedong has had to sacrifice most of his Zerglings, killing all the medics even, but BoGus does have a second force of Medic Marines out. Still, Jaedong winning that battle. Not quite as devastating as it could have been, but good enough, certainly. And this is clearly a difference between your Hyuns and your Jaedongs. 5 barracks now pumping for BoGus. He is getting his factory. Jaedong needs either more Lings or some Lurkers. He's already got the Hydralisk in. He's got Evolution Chamber researching, +1 Carapace surely. Jaedong, I think, the state of TVZ now, it seems that the Terran can so easily punish Zerg for a mistake. The Zerg just needs to play perfectly, basically, whereas the Terran can afford to lose 1 or 2 armies early on, and they'll be okay. As long as Zerg can survive the Hive Tech, they're going to be in good position. Now, BoGus has massed up a huge force of infantry. Jaedong needs to be careful losing a Milice needlessly there. He cannot hope to engage this force without either Lurkers or Zerglings, or preferably both Lurkers and Zerglings. We have another barracks going down for BoGus. He's putting down a starport. He's going to get science vessels soon enough. And Jaedong, forced onto the defensive for now. He's got a few Lurkers here on the high ground. Are they stop Lurkers? I don't know. Even if they're not stop Lurkers, the fact that they are on the high ground is going to make those Lurkers so much more potent against these potential Medic Marines. Let's see, Jaedong did not stop his Lurkers. He's forced to back off. Didn't seem like BoGus was aware of the Lurkers' existence, though. Jaedong pulling the Lurkers back a bit, forcing BoGus to back off for now. But BoGus is going to bring up reinforcements and perhaps try to push again. Jaedong will have a good number of Lurkers out to defend, and Jaedong trying to push through a bit at the middle here. That's not going to work. Science Vessel is still not quite ready to come out yet. BoGus not putting down Science Facility just yet, and Jaedong has his 3rd base secured. I mean, There is nothing that BoGus can do to break up that ramp with 4 lurkers there, and Jaedong using his Mulus very well, killing a few medics, picking away at some SCVs here. I guess he was hoping to get the tank, but even without killing the tank, he's done a good job here. BoGus using his infantry, trying to intercept the Mulus, but not doing a completely good job. Jaedong also not quite completely on top of his game, sacrifices his Mulus needlessly. Oh my dear. Jaedong, that was a poor play. That was just a mistake. He lost 3 or 4 Mulus there to absolutely careless control, which is uncharacteristic of Jaedong. He could sure use those Mulus as meat shields when the main battle is engaged here. So BoGus, I think, acquitting himself fairly well here. And now it looks like Jaedong is massing up his forces in the middle of the map, perhaps hoping to engage BoGus. BoGus does have a very impressive army. Jaedong just needs to delay until Consume is finished. Once Consume is up, he's going to be fine. And now Flash pumping out quite a few more tanks and infantry. BoGus does not seem to be aware there's a drone there at the 6 o'clock expansion. He's managed to mass up his forces, which are significant, just looking at the map. He's got massive armies, really. A few of his isolated Marines might get picked off here at the north, but BoGus is not going to mind too much. He's bringing out everything else he has to launch a push on Jaedong's front here. Jaedong has a lot of lurkers, though. I'm not sure whether BoGus is going to be able to break this. A direct frontal assault against all these lurkers is not going to work. So BoGus forced to siege up his tanks and advance slowly. Jaedong has bought himself the time he's needed. I think he's going to have Swarm out no problem. Jaedong would be wise, though, to conserve his forces a bit until Swarm comes out, because once Swarm comes out, he's going to, and notice how Jaedong is unburrowing one group of lurkers and keeping a second group as a screening force, and then not retreating all his lurkers at once, for instance, which is nice. Jaedong has lurkers all over the place, it seems. Some lurkers in the north to stop potential reinforcements there. There's basically a massive front here at Jaedong now with Swarm out. The Swarm offensive have begun. All 3 siege tanks going down. Oh, BoGus trying to retreat his forces to the north, getting absolutely slaughtered by well-positioned lurkers there. BoGus has sniffed out a new attempt at expansion by Jaedong at the 11 o'clock, but Jaedong has Zerglings in position to deal with these Marines, and he's going to be able to protect this expansion. So Jaedong looks like he's got this game well in hand. He has Swarm now. I would certainly say that Jaedong has not quite achieved enough for a decisive victory. BoGus with a dropship, perhaps he can do some damage with it. Jaedong, well, he has fended off BoGus for now and inflicted significant casualties. BoGus still has the core of his infantry army preserved, and now BoGus taking out Jaedong's scouting overlords there. BoGus gonna unleash his dropship here, it looks like, send it probably to the 11 o'clock, but Jaedong has forces in position already to defend. Jaedong still needs to be a bit careful. He needs to have Swarm with these lurkers and lings, otherwise he's going to suffer more losses than I think he wants. He's got a Defiler out now. There are mines. Mines are nasty, nasty. Maybe Jaedong can drag some of the mines into the Mag Marines. Now BoGus coming in with a drop. Swarm going down with the Zerglings. BoGus with 2 more dropships, it looks like, but forced to back off for now. BoGus' front is under heavy assault by lurkers. He's got some trouble there, and now Scourge picking off 1 dropship. There's a second dropship, but Jaedong has Zerglings to intercept, and BoGus' drop completely useless. Those units getting killed as soon as they come out, and I think Jaedong's in prime position to win now. BoGus' attacks are completely thwarted. Jaedong's forces are breaching BoGus' front. I think BoGus might be able to hold out for a bit more with Spider Mines, and GG coming from BoGus. He opts not to fight it out. He might be able to hold out for a bit more, but the game was over once BoGus' attacks failed, basically. So Jaedong a dominating win over BoGus. Going on to the next set.